This video is not going to be one of my normal scripted videos, but off the cuff. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. We're going to talk about how the series was expected to be a success, some of the reasons why we were given, and I'm looking at fandomwikia.com, which is a good insight into what we are being told. Why Doctor Who Series 11 could be the best yet. I'm going to read the last sentence. But we're convinced that Series 11 of Doctor Who will be a resounding success. Here's why, and they give us some reasons. I'm not going to go over all the reasons. The new Doctor is a woman. Well, how about that? It's going to be a success just because it's a woman. Not because it's a woman that will be playing the role in the best way. Just because it's a woman. That kind of speaks for itself. A diverse writing team. How about a talented writing team? Here's an odd one. The scripts were written for a male doctor, which means hopefully we'll see a woman character free of stereotypically female characteristics and just a fully rounded person. It's actually testament to the legacy of Doctor Who that it didn't make any difference. Chibnall feels that scripts didn't have to change much once the writers knew about the Doctor's new gender, just as when the Doctor was male. Gender didn't really ever come into the story. It's very hard for me to think of a decision that the Doctor has taken in 55 years that is a gender-based decision or action, said Chibnall. I'd really struggle to think of one. While showrunner Chris Chibnall said it's very hard to him to think of a decision that the Doctor has taken in 55 years that is gender-based decision or action, and he'd really struggle to think of one. It's interesting to note what gender-based decision or action Chris Chibnall made before the season even started. I'm looking at denofgeeks.com. New Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall insisted on a female Doctor. Regenerating the Doctor into a woman wasn't just a pitch for the new Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall. It was his one condition. Progress takes those in power recognizing the disproportionate degree of influence they have and using it in responsible, revolutionary ways. Such was the case with Chris Chibnall, who, according to a new interview with Digital Spy, agreed to take the job of Doctor Who showrunner on one condition: the next Doctor be a woman. Once Peter had decided he was leaving, the next Doctor was always going to be a female Doctor, executive producer Matt Stevens told Digital Spy. That's what Chris wanted. That was part of his conditions of doing the job. And then they end with no Daleks. I don't know how guaranteeing that one of the most popular monsters or enemies of the entire series history not being included in this season would be a good thing. But we're going to look at what critics are saying and what fans are saying about the success of season 11. It hasn't done too bad in viewers. It has gone down since the beginning, and we're going to look at that. I want to talk about the Doctor Who ratings for season 11, not just the ratings for it, but this story we're being told about how successful it is and what may be behind it. I'm not going to offer answers here, but I'm going to show some suspicions that we're being told that this is the most successful series. It's great. It's wonderful. We start out on Rotten Tomatoes, where season 11, on their tomato meter, received a 94%. But as you can see, the audience score is 36% who liked it. What I want to focus on is a few things. One, their site specifically. Okay, if you see the ratio between what Rotten Tomatoes has given 94% versus the low audience score, 36%. Let's look at what they've done in the past for season 1, for example. Okay, season 1 got a 71%. This is of the new Doctor Who, 2005. But the audience score was even higher, 85%. Season 2... Now we're going to start seeing something that looks closer to matching what the audience score is. They give it 100%. I don't know how they do that, but the audience scored it 90%. Season 3, 100%. Audience 92%. So they're actually more connected to each other. There's some connection between the audience score and their tomato meter. And once again, season 4 gets 100%. and the audience scores, it's moving up 94%. So they seem to be merging there. Their interest seem to be closer. Season 5, tomato meter gives them 100%, audience score 91%. I'm going to skip the special. Season 6, there's no score from the tomato meter, audience gave it 85%. Season 7, once again, tomato meter 100%, but then the audience scored down to 83, but that's not like 36. Okay, season 8. Well, you're starting to get the idea. They're close. They're pretty close. 92 versus the audience saying 79. Season 9. I don't really have to go through all these. 90. They're really closely matched here. Forgetting the fact that fans, especially long-term fans of the series, have liked, not liked, absolutely loved, absolutely hated certain characters in the show, specific doctors, and fans disagree. They tend to battle it out, try to convince each other why they liked one episode or one season or one doctor over the other or one change in the story over the other. And that's been, with any fan base, that's the truth. That's what, that's pretty normal. With the case of season 11, we have this political correctness, this third wave feminist identity politics, which is commanding us to adore the show because there's a woman playing the role and there's a multicultural cast. And if you don't, you're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're sexist, etc. So we can contrast what the people in the media are saying about the show. And here's a good snapshot on Rotten Tomatoes. The top critics, Liz Shannon Miller at IndieWire, now she says lovely intentions, but upon deeper inspection saying little. So I guess that's not, I'm not going to show you the full review. However, we get to Kelly Connolly at The Atlantic. She talks about the fact this season, the first to star, a woman in 55 years, was so interested in how long it takes to affect change and how many people have to suffer in the process, played like a response to the history of the show. And I did read that full review, and it's picking apart that show. Basically, show takes time to develop. So we get to Caroline Framke of Variety. Whittaker's deft, frenetic, confident performance speaks for itself. Within minutes, she's made it clear that, yes, being a woman suits the doctor just fine. Robert Lloyd, Los Angeles Times, says, Whittaker has both authority and energy. She is playful yet mature, a little mad, but not manic. Funny and agile, and perhaps will turn out a shade less judgmental than some of her predecessors. Kelly Lawler, USA Today. Fans who have waited years or even decades to see themselves in a certain time-traveling alien will finally get their wish. I guess female fans. Vern Gay of Newsday says, as the first in what one hopes will be a long line of female doctors, Whittaker is funny, energetic, and full of joy. Whovians should be pleased. That little snapshot gets to the point. First line of female doctors. Not the first line of the best doctors or the most successful doctors or the most creative people to play the role, but it has to be female doctors. And I'm sure we'll have other categories thrown in that it'll have to be in the future. They won't end there. Robin Barr at Hollywood Reporter says, Whittaker is more winning than I could ever imagine. Her doctor is loose and lively, cheeky and irreverent, sporting a deliciously homey Yorkshire brogue that will be catnip for anyone entranced by a Midlands accent. And of course the constipated face look. I'm sure that'll go along with it. Now contrast what we're being told by the top critics with what the audience members have to say. And I'm not going to read all of these or in their entirety. But Paul J. says, poor writing and acting, no depth or sci-fi seems to constantly insult middle-aged white men, especially the single-parent father who lost his wife. Matthew D. says, this season has been so boring. The only season I watched it to the end is for Bradley's amazing acting. The character who ticks my box by having the same disability as me annoyed the hell out of me. and I was pleased to see the disability being highly misrepresented. Okay, so we're going to go down to Dominic, who gives it 2 stars. I was really up for this series of Doctor Who. I was looking forward to Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor and hoped that she'd be brilliant. But after 10 episodes, I'm feeling disappointed and let down. This series was so dull and boring. The acting half the time was really bad and wooden. The writing and dialogue feels very off too. The new companions, Graham, Ryan, and Yaz, are just boring and add nothing. Neither of them seem to actually want to be traveling with the Doctor or seem like they want to see the universe. So, this fan, like me and like many other fans, probably most fans, were excited about a new Doctor and were willing to accept a new Doctor. And like a normal fan, you either like it or you don't like it or you love it, or you might have some critiques. What's happening out in the online fan universe is that if you criticize the new Doctor, that's wrong think. That's heretical thinking. You have to love it or you're a hateful person with hate speech. It's become a dogma that you have to love the show. And even if you, my last review of the season, which I did a few days ago, I talked about what I liked and what I didn't like about it. And, well, I'm getting good and bad comments, although my channel right now, having just gotten back up, is not getting that much attention. But other people who are doing honest critiques are getting a barrage of insults and attacks. SR says, utter garbage. I've watched all of Doctor Who and used to be a big fan. I'm a big sci-fi fan in general, but where is the sci-fi with this? Where is the fiction? Where is the fantasy? Why is it only filled with other political garbage made to fit this time period? Great sci-fi works are meant to transcendent time, period, and place. Again, this is garbage, so had I even started watching because now I am no longer a Doctor Who fan. Juan C. says, trite SJW scripts, so PC that there is no storyline. Mad Nick said, this is not Doctor Who. I've been watching the show ever since it was rebooted in 2005. The show had its blunders, but nothing like this. The season is a preaching season. Doctor Who was turned into a vehicle to advance and preach ideological rhetoric, politics, rather than creating good and entertaining sci-fi stories. And Mad Nick hits the nail right on the head. It's the reaction that a lot of people are getting. People want to sit down and enjoy a television program. In this case, a sci-fi series about an alien who travels in time. But now they're being preached to. They're being told that white men are bad and racism is everywhere. Some people have complained that the ratings, the viewership is way down. That it is dropping. I don't see it as something terrible. That's happened in the past where the season starts out high and gets lower as we go along. I want to go to a site that is actually very democratic. Unlike Rotten Tomatoes, which is, it seems like their rating system is rotten to the core, I want to go to the International Movie Database. You'll notice rated by thousands on every episode, anywhere in the range of 3 to 7 or 8,000 people. And you'll notice that, so it's democratic, people rate it from 1 to 10, and they take an average. And you'll notice that season 11 starts at 8.1, that's 8.1 out of 10, drops down to 7.3, 6.4, 7.4, now 5.5. I don't know if I saw any other season get an episode rating on the IMDb of less than 6. I think there was 1 or 2 throughout all the other seasons, if that. And we got another 5.4, 6.9, 6.7, 6.2, 6.8, and 6.2. My point here is that forget about the audience viewership and forget about Rotten Tomatoes. This is thousands of people voting. There's a definite decline from a start of 8.1 down to the mid 5.4, 5.5, and series concludes in the 6s, low 6s. What's interesting is when you see all the other seasons, they actually rise. Most of them rise, and there's a few where they dip in the middle of the season. Maybe a couple episodes were real stinkers, and they didn't do too well. But you'll see season 1 with Christopher Eccleston starts out with 7.6, okay, and then it holds steady in the 7, then jumps up to an 8.7, back to 7, 8.4, then it goes to 9.2, 9.1, back to 7, 8.7, and ends with 9.1. Very interesting because unlike this latest season, 11, where it steadily declines down to the sixes and the fives. Season 1 starts out at 7 point something and slowly rises to 8s and 9s. Season 2, same thing. And you'll notice there's a pattern here with thousands of people voting. 8.2. Season 2 starts out with 7.5, 7.9, 8.4. Then it jumps up to 9.3. We get one below a 7 here, 6 by 9, The Idiot's Lantern. The Impossible Planet, 8.7, 8.8. Okay, here's a low one. Fear Her, 6.1. That's pretty bad. Army of Ghosts, 8.5, but then it ends with 9.3. You're going to see this pattern merging over and over again. We go to season 3. Now, this is David Tennant. Starts out at 7.6. That's where I believe Jodie Whittaker, well, she started at 8. Well, she started out higher. Season 3 starts out 7.6, but then you'll notice it's steady climb. You see a dip in the Lazarus Experiment. Human Nature, 9.0. The Family of Blood, 9.2. 9.8. 8.8, 8.7, 8.4. Didn't end with a bang like the last few, but that's pretty high. We're going to go to season 4. Starts out, once again, 7.7. Now we're still in the 8s, the high 7s, high 8s. I mean, in the 8s, 7.8. Then we go to, instead of a steady decline, 9.4, Silence in the Library, which was a really good episode, actually. Forest of the Dead, 9.5. That's pretty darn good. Midnight, 9.0. Turn Left, 8.9, which is effectively a 9. The Stolen Earth, 9.1. Journey's End. Well, you see this pattern that it starts out in the 7 point something and ends up in the 9 point something out of 10. So this is thousands of people. Look at the numbers. Thousands of people are voting. This is not Rotten Tomatoes deciding that the Doctor is charming or whatever they put down as their reason. Season 5 starts out a lot higher, 8.8. Dips down a little bit. We see a 6.8. Goes back to 8.7, 8.6, 7.1, 8.2. You get the idea. And then, of course, it jumps up to 9.3, 8.3, 9.1, 9.2. Once again, repeating the pattern, getting higher by the end of the series instead of dipping down. Season 6. You're going to see this pattern repeated. Starts out at 8.6, 8.9, 8.9. Here's one that's not as good. The Black Spot, 6.8, 9.0. The Doctor's Wife, 7.3, 7.5, 9.1, 8.1, 7.1, 8.5, 8.1. 8 point start ends out with 8.6. Not as good as the others, but still, at least it's... Hey, it ended the way it started out at 8.6. It didn't have a steady decline, which we're being told is normal for Doctor Who. So, and the reason, once again, the reason I'm looking at the IMDb, the International Movie Database, is people all over can vote, and IMDb doesn't say, you know what, the audience says 7.3, but we're going to make it 2.0 or 10.0 or something like that. This is the average of all scores. And season 7 with the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe starts out a hair lower, 7.3. Works its way up to 8.7. You get the picture, 7.5, 7.7. Jumps up. Angels Take Manhattan, 9.0. The Snowmen, 8.5. 8.0, 7.4. And steady in the steady mid 7 point something, but ends with a 9.1. And you're going to see this even with the later ones. We have this about the same pattern. Season 8, 8.0, 7.8, 9, at Listen, 8.0. In the 7s, 8.5, 8.5. And then here's one where it dips down in the Forest of the Night, 6.2. That's a low point, but then it goes back up to 8.7, 7.9. Not as big of a jump as the last several seasons, but this is Peter Capaldi, and this is where the season starts to decline. So season 9 starts out higher, 8.3. It seems to hold in the mid-8s, 8. Then we dip down to 7 point something, 7.9. Back up to 8. And here's Sleep No More, ranked as 6. We haven't seen anything below a 6 yet, like within the 11th season. 8.6, 9.5 heaven sent, 8.7, and it ends. I would say that's a pretty good ending of the series, 9.6, 8.7, 8.6. Not as high of ending as the previous one, but still doing good. And this is where the viewership started dropping off around season 9 and 10. So here's 10, the last season, where it starts out with a decent average, 7.5, jumps up to 8.0, 7.3, 7.4. In the 7s, 8s, 7.8, 7.3, 7.1. Then, World Enough in Time, 9.2. The Doctor Fails. Ends with a bang, 9.0. This is fans telling you what they think of the series, not media sites telling you what you should think about the series. The fans of the series are reacting to the new Doctor both enthusiastically and at the same time others are highly critical. The biggest complaint is that the series seems to have been hijacked for ideological reasons. I've covered several of them in earlier videos, and many more talented creators have critiqued the series far better than I. The one thing that the majority of the naysayers have in common is that they want the show to return to something they would want to start watching again. Not, as it is now, identity politics on steroids. Let me know what you think below, and thank you for watching this and my other videos. My channel has been offline for several months, and I'm trying to jumpstart it. You can help by hitting the like, subscribing, or sharing this and other videos. Goodbye.